There is a detail that the history books skipped. Not because the researchers missed it, not because the evidence wasn't there, but because what it implies is so destabilizing to everything we've been taught about human civilization that the easier move, the institutional move, was to look away. A staircase, stone, carved, fitted with precision, rising from the floor of the Amazon rainforest, the largest, densest wilderness on the face of the earth, ascending upward into the canopy, and then stopping, leading nowhere. No building attached, no foundation beneath it, no ruins around it, just steps cut from stone, standing upright in the middle of a jungle that every official map, every academic survey, every history textbook says has never, not once, been home to a civilization capable of cutting stone. I've spent months going down this thread, and what I found doesn't just explain the staircase, it blows open the entire official story of the Amazon, of pre-Columbian civilization, of what was here before the reset, because here's what nobody is saying out loud.
The staircase wasn't an accident. It wasn't a natural formation. It wasn't left by some small, scattered tribe of hunter-gatherers who happened to learn precision stonemasonry. It was left by a civilization so large, so sophisticated, so deliberately erased from the historical record that even now, even with the technology to see it, the institutions tasked with studying it are still trying to explain it away. Stay with me, because once you see what's under that canopy, you cannot unsee it. The first time I came across accounts of freestanding staircases in the Amazon, I dismissed them. Everyone does. They circulate in the same spaces as the other stories, the accounts that get labeled folklore or fringe, or the product of overactive imaginations in the dark. Hikers, forestry workers, expedition teams coming back from deep in the interior with descriptions of stone steps in the middle of the jungle, rising from the undergrowth, attached to nothing. I filed it away. Then I started finding the same reports in places that couldn't be so easily dismissed. Geological survey logs,
expedition records from independent research teams working in the Brazilian interior, testimonials from indigenous communities, communities whose oral traditions describe these structures not as mysteries, not as anomalies, but as remnants, as the bones of something that came before. And that word, before, is where everything starts to open up. Because the indigenous accounts don't describe the staircases as random. They describe them as part of something larger, something that was here, something that was taken away, or destroyed, or buried, depending on who you ask and which tradition you're drawing from. They have names for what these structures belong to. They have ceremonies connected to them. They have memories passed down across generations of a world that existed before the world they were born into. That is not the description of a hunter-gatherer society stumbling upon natural rock formations. That is the description of a people who remember what was lost.
And the more I dug into the documented evidence, not the folklore, not the fringe forums, the peer-reviewed papers, the satellite data, the academic journals, the more I understood that what the indigenous communities remember, the official record has been quietly confirming for 20 years. They just haven't been loud about it. In the early 2000s, researchers began deploying a technology called LiDAR over the Amazon basin. LiDAR, light detection and ranging, fires laser pulses from aircraft down through the forest canopy, bouncing off the ground beneath and returning a precise three-dimensional map of the terrain below the trees. For the first time in history, we could see through the jungle. We could see the ground. We could see what was on it. What they found rewrote everything. In the Brazilian state of Acre alone, just one state, one portion of the basin, LiDAR surveys revealed over 450 geometric earthworks, circles, squares, precise dimensions, some of them stretching over 300 meters across.
connected by straight roads running for kilometers through forest
that every official account had classified as pristine wilderness, uninhabited, untouched. In the Llanos de Mojos region of Bolivia, the same technology revealed an enormous network of canals, raised agricultural fields, causeways, and managed forest islands, evidence of a sophisticated civilization that had engineered a landscape the size of England, not occupied it, engineered it, shaped it, designed it, the way an architect designs a city. In the upper Xingu region, satellite analysis identified planned settlements, not villages, settlements, connected by roads with evidence of bridges, dams, and managed orchards extending across thousands of square kilometers. I need you to feel the scale of what I'm describing. This is not one site. This is not an isolated anomaly that can be explained by a particularly ambitious local chieftain.
This is a network of civilizations operating across a basin the size of Western Europe for thousands of years, building geometric earthworks of mathematical precision, engineering the soil, managing the landscape, connecting their cities by road. And we were all told, that none of this existed. But here's what stopped me cold. The LiDAR surveys have only covered a fraction of the Amazon basin. A fraction. The basin covers 5.5 million square kilometers. Roughly 60% of it has never been surveyed at ground level. Every new LiDAR flight discovers more structures. Every single one. Not occasionally, not in certain regions. Every time someone points the technology at the forest, they find something. The pattern is too consistent to be coincidence. The pattern looks like a civilization so large that finding its traces is unavoidable, no matter where you look. There's another piece of evidence, one that doesn't require lasers or satellites, one that you can hold in your hands. It's called Terra Preta, Amazonian dark earth.
Found across the basin in patches that correspond almost perfectly to the locations of former settlement sites revealed by the LiDAR. Terra Preta is not natural Amazonian soil. The natural soil of the Amazon basin is nutrient-poor, thin, and fragile, one of the reasons conventional archaeology argued that the forest couldn't support a large civilization. The soil, they said, wasn't capable of feeding a major population. Terra Preta laughs at that argument. It is artificially created, enriched with charcoal, bone, and organic waste, through a process that modern soil science still cannot fully replicate. It is more fertile than the surrounding soil by orders of magnitude. And here is the detail that made me sit back in my chair when I first read it. It regenerates itself. Terra Preta, a soil created by human hands thousands of years ago, continues to renew its own fertility. Scientists studying it today describe properties they cannot explain. A self-sustaining agricultural technology embedded in the earth, still functioning centuries after the people who created it are gone.
This soil exists across millions of hectares of a forest the official record classified as uninhabited. Think about what that means. To create Terra Preta across millions of hectares, you need a population, a large one, an organized one, working across generations with consistent intention. You need not just farmers, but agricultural engineers, not just settlements, but an agricultural civilization operating at a scale that permanently altered the chemistry of the ground beneath the largest forest on Earth. That civilization was here. The LiDAR proves it built. The Terra Preta proves it farmed. The roads prove it was connected. The earthworks prove it was organized. The indigenous memory proved it was remembered. The only thing that was missing was the official acknowledgement. And the question I couldn't shake, the question that pulled me into the deeper end of this research, was not whether this civilization existed. It clearly did. The question was, what happened to it? The conventional answer is disease.
Smallpox, measles, influenza, introduced by European contact, sweeping through a population with no immunity, transmitted along those same roads and trade networks that connected the settlements. By the time European explorers penetrated the interior of the Amazon, the civilizations they might have documented were already gone. The cities were empty, the roads were being swallowed, the earthworks were being buried under new growth, and the explorers, arriving in a landscape that had been depopulated, reported what they saw: empty forest, scattered survivors, wilderness. That account is documented. That account is real. Disease was devastating. But I want you to hold something alongside that account, because across this channel, across the research I've been doing into what Tartaria actually was, into what the old world actually looked like before the reset, a pattern keeps emerging. A pattern that goes beyond disease, beyond the slow, tragic mechanics of epidemic collapse. The pattern is of civilizations that didn't just decline, they vanished completely, rapidly.
With their architecture, their technology, their history scrubbed so thoroughly from the official record that the land they built upon was reclassified as empty, as wild, as never having been inhabited at all. That is not just what disease does. Disease kills people. It leaves the buildings. What happened in the Amazon left the Terra Preta. It left fragments of the earthworks, buried and overgrown. It left the stone staircases, the most durable components, the ones that couldn't decompose, standing in the jungle. But the buildings are gone. The records are gone. The civilization itself is not just depopulated. It is erased from the story we inherited about this place. That pattern, rapid disappearance, architectural erasure, reclassification of inhabited land as wilderness, that is the fingerprint I've been tracking across every video on this channel. That is the fingerprint of a reset, not a natural disaster, not a gradual decline, a deliberate, systematic overwriting of what came before.
A point in history where the record was restarted, where the maps were redrawn, where the story of human civilization on this planet was edited, and the civilizations that didn't fit the new story were reclassified as never having existed. The Amazon was one of the places where the editing was easiest, because the jungle does the archival work for you. You don't need to burn the libraries if the forest will swallow the buildings within a generation. You don't need to rewrite the maps if the canopy hides the roads within a century. All you need to do is arrive after the fact, look at what the jungle has reclaimed, and write in your official report, nothing was ever here. That report became the textbook became the assumption made looking unnecessary, and for 5 centuries, nobody looked. Which brings us back to the staircase, because now, with everything I've laid out, the staircase in the middle of the Amazon is not a mystery. It's an answer. It is what remains when a civilization built in stone is consumed by 5 centuries of tropical decomposition.
The walls went first. Organic materials, plaster, wood, anything that the jungle could break down. Then the roofs, then the floors, then the foundations, cracked open by root systems growing through them across generations. The jungle is not a passive force. It is an active, aggressive system of decomposition and reclamation. It consumes. But stone stairs are designed to carry weight, load-bearing by nature, fitted, jointed, dense. They are the last thing standing when everything else is gone. A staircase in the middle of the Amazon, rising to nothing, is the skeleton of a building whose flesh the jungle ate. It is not a mystery. It is a fossil, an architectural fossil, the bone structure of a civilization that the official records spent 5 centuries insisting never existed. And here is the detail that I can't stop thinking about. We don't know how many there are. The LiDAR has only covered a fraction of the basin. Every survey finds more.
The density of sites per surveyed kilometer, extrapolated across the unsurveyed regions, suggests thousands,